For many organisations, processes are a big focus to get right. However, in my experience, there's one process that often gets overlooked. This is the process of transferring customers. Getting this transfer right has huge benefits and can help build trust with the customer. But you get this wrong and it can be difficult to get the conversation and the customer back on track, especially when the customer may be vulnerable. I recently had a conversation with an organisation who were looking to roll out suicidal conversation training with some of their team members. I asked them how many people will be attending the course, and they mentioned that it would just be a small number. And I knew that this was a large organisation, and I just asked the question, so that's great. This is, obviously going to be the escalation team. Are you going to be giving suicidal conversation training to your frontline agents? The answer was no. What we expect from them is that whenever suicide is mentioned, they are going to be transferring the call immediately over to the escalation team. And for me, this raised a huge amount of concerns for me, because I was thinking from the customer's point of view, they've built rapport with that frontline agent. They had opened up and they had shared something very difficult, very emotional, very upsetting, very personal with that team member. And then, without really fully understanding why, they were then being transferred on to an escalation team. And if that transfer isn't handled correctly, isn't handled empathetically and supportively, then that customer may feel that they're being fobbed off. They may not understand who they're going to be speaking to. Are they going to have to share their story again? So there was lots of cause for concern for me with regards this part of the conversation. And it would have been the quickest way for that customer to then potentially close up, and if they had been then transferred to the escalation team, the chances are that they would open up further may be minimalised. And it may be also that it stops them opening up to other people in the future. So in this video, I just wanted to share some of my top tips with regards getting the transfer of customers, especially vulnerable customers, absolutely key, absolutely right for them to feel trusted, to not feel fobbed off. So in the first place, if you can, rather than transferring the customer out of that conversation, invite the colleague who you're going to be escalating to, invite that colleague to join the conversation that your team member is having with the customer. The trust has already been built between the team member and the customer, and what you're doing is you're inviting somebody to come and join that conversation. And the team member who had that initial conversation with the customer, they can then share with the team member who's just joined, this is the customer, this is what they're experiencing, and I know that you are the right person who can help them and support them with what they're experiencing. Then when the customer feels more confident to be left alone with the team member that has joined the conversation, that initial team member can then leave that conversation and pick up other conversations with customers, pick up other calls. So if you can, invite the colleague in rather than transferring the customer out. I know that this is not always possible, so it might be a case that you do actually have to transfer the customer. Be really clear and transparent from the beginning. Explain why you are transferring them, what the benefit is to them. Always acknowledge before you're transferring, acknowledge what they have shared. Thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for trusting me with that information. I may not be the right person to help you with what you're experiencing, but I know that my colleague can, and they will be able to put a lot more support options in place for you. That is the reason why I'm going to be transferring you to them. So just having that little light conversation, gently explaining to them what the benefit is to transfer them. Then to speak to the colleague that you're going to be transferring to. Just pick up the phone, get in touch with them and say, I've got this customer on the phone, this is their name, this is what they're calling about, this is what they need support with, and share as much as you possibly can to avoid that customer having to retell their story. It's about creating that tell us once journey process for that customer. Then go back to the customer and just explain, I've spoken to my colleague, I've shared as much information as possible so they know what support you're looking for and how they can help you. Their name is, and they're going to be happy to help you. I'm going to be transferring you now. And then transfer the customer. Be mindful to make sure that transfer does take place and the customer doesn't get lost in the system or even gets cut off. If they do get cut off, pick up the phone and call them back immediately, and then carry on the process. It's about building trust, building rapport, creating that safe environment where that customer really does feel supported, especially if they are going through a really difficult time and are experiencing vulnerability. So it's a very, very small process in the big scheme of an organization, but it has the potential to go horribly wrong if that customer doesn't feel supported and cared for during that process. So that's my top tips for today. Take care and see you soon.